Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Containment, the CW Season 1 Limited Series. So, this came out in 2014, and before I continue any further, let me warn you right here, right now. This video will be triggering to many people. And it's because of what this show was about. Now, here's the thing. This is a very, very good show. And it got canceled after one season. However, it was a limited series. They were hoping for a season 2, but it never got that. The reason why it's triggering is because no one would predict 5 years later we will basically be living in this television series. This series deals with a super virus that is very similar to that of the COVID pandemic, the coronavirus. Now, this series, tons of people will get sick, tons of people will die. So if you ever do watch this show on CWC, just know it will be triggering. And if you had a significant loss or experienced the virus yourself, you might not want to watch this series. I tried my best because I wanted to talk about this show way before COVID ever came out. But I don't think I had my channel then. But I always wanted to talk about this show. Reason why I couldn't talk about it sooner is because it was hard to find. After it was canceled by the CW, it later went to Netflix. I have no idea if it's still on Netflix or not. I don't have Netflix. Then it was on Amazon. And then as soon as I was finna watch it on Amazon, they took it off Amazon. And so for the longest time, I couldn't find it until I finally found it on the CWC. So just note, this show will be triggering to people and stuff. And, if you have experienced something severe or a death due to the virus, I am sorry that you experienced that. So I don't want this video to cause nobody pain. I understand if you don't want to listen to what I have to say and everything. The only reason why I'm talking about this, and I contemplated if I should even talk about this show because, the real life events. But, this show is really good and stuff. And the reason why, like I said, I created this channel because I wanted to talk about shows that I like and shows that other people don't talk about. So with further ado, here I go. So like I said before, this came out in 2014 on the CW. And I remember I was hooked from the start when I saw the trailer. And because, and I never thought in a million years we'd be going through something very similar. When we did go through something very similar, first thing came in my head was this TV show. The TV show actually helped me a little bit and prepare for the virus and everything. In terms of wearing a mask, wearing gloves, staying 6 feet apart, waiting for updates from CDC and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing about this show. It is sci-fi. So they went the extreme route with the virus and the extreme measures with the virus. So there are similarities to our pandemic. But remember, they had to go to that extreme route. So if you do watch this show or listen to this, then you will know, okay, we never went through nothing like that, thank God. Because the measures they take is weird. So this show is actually not original, to tell you the truth. It's based off of a Belgian Dutch show. And I've never watched the Belgium show, because, well, I don't live over there. But it is on YouTube, I found. I haven't watched it yet because I don't know what the world is saying, and I don't really want to read subtitles. But I am very curious, so I watched the trailer, and it seems more intense than that of the American show. I am curious. I might watch it on mute, just so I can see similarities. I like, oh, I remember that character from the American show, or, oh, I remember this situation and stuff like that. But other than that, I've never watched it. Now, the Dutch show ran for 2 seasons. Ours sadly only ran for one. It actually, tell you the truth, even though it was on the CW, it did not feel like a CW show. Yeah, there was romance and stuff, but there was no long-winded speeches, nothing like that. Which is probably why people didn't like this show, because it just didn't feel like a CW show, which is a great thing right there, because the CW is just so CW. And so, like, the thing about this show is it deals with a super virus, like I said. And the super virus actually looks very similar to the actual coronavirus and stuff. See how uncanny that is? Like, it looks very similar. And so this is not to be confused with the containment movie. But in the Belgium show, they call this the cordon. And they use that term in this show for an area of town where the virus is at. And I remember when I saw the trailer, I'm just like, Lord Jesus, have mercy. What the world is this? Is this like the zombie apocalypse? People are screaming like all in the street and stuff like that. And that's actually how it starts off. I think it's 10 or 13 episodes. And so the show starts off with a bunch of like National Guards and they're getting ready. They open up these containment doors and everybody in town is screaming and hollering and everything. They're panicked. And we're just like, what the world's going on here? Now it's day 13 where all this panic stuff has happened. And it is utter chaos. People are crying, people are screaming, nobody wants to touch themselves. People are wearing masks. The National Guard is being extremely rough on people and stuff, taking them down. One man gets shot. Now the virus, um, it has a unique way to identify itself. Like, um, it does certain things to your body and everything like that. And what it does is like, well, I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, doing all this panic and stuff, I had no idea we'll be seeing the main cast members and stuff. And we see a bunch of them. The show has a pretty big cast and recurring cast. It's ironic because all the cast members somehow are interconnected to one another and stuff, right? And so, like, at some point in time, it cuts from that to a woman and a man in a hospital. She's in quarantine and she's looking pretty rough. Now, the virus, the way you can identify it on somebody is it causes you to bleed from certain areas: your mouth, your eyes, your nose, certain areas of your pores. Also, your eyes turn like a yellowish kind of color. You look sweaty and tired. And there's also this like yellowish, greenish, almost yellowish, amberish type of like ooze that comes from like your eyes and stuff. And so, like, this woman is a doctor and she's talking to another doctor, Dr. Cannon. And Dr. Cantus, he's trying to figure out how she got sick, how she got exposed. And so somebody else is also infected, her boyfriend. And so she's talking about how, she talked to this one guy, he was like really sick. And she realizes she gave him her pen. And when that touch on touch contact happened, that's how she got exposed and everything. And so The man is a Syrian man. And so what they believe that, this came from Syria, and it's like a big international thing, right? They think it's like a bioweapon and everything. And so she's coughing, she's sneezing. Now, one thing with this virus it does is when you cough up blood and you spray it out your mouth. Like when you cough, think of like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but instead of like saliva coming out, is blood. And so she's convulsing and everything, and eventually she dies, and so does the man that's her boyfriend, because she infected him after she made out with him and stuff. So they're trying to track their steps, right? And so they have to find the Syrian man. Now we get to see some other of the main characters. We see Lex, Major Lex. He's a cop, and he's like a super cop. He's very skilled, very determined, and he comes home to a woman packing her bags. This woman is Jana. Jana is his girlfriend. Jana has somewhat commitment issues. Every time she gets close to moving in with him, she freaks out, panics, packs her stuff, and leaves. He's getting sick and tired of it. She doesn't know what's wrong with her and stuff. They love each other to death, but it just she got out of like a relationship, and she just scared of living with her boyfriend. He gives her the key and tell her when you're ready, you come live with him. He has to go to a CDC meeting that's been called. So he's there, and he's there with like the police captain type dude. And so the CDC director lady, she comes in, Dr. Loomis. And Dr. Loomis she's very curt. She's very rude. She's very blunt. She will not even shake Lex's hand. And so he takes offense to that. But she just said in her line of work, it's just best not to shake hands and stuff. And so they give a briefing. Dr. Cantors is on like, the TV talking to them through like a webcam about the virus. The woman I told you about before, she dies and everything, right? And so like this is all happening like in the pilot episode. And so she's dead. They're talking about how they believe the Syrians have like, created like a super virus, bio warfare. They have to find him and everything. And the super virus is very, very dangerous and very contagious. And so Lex decides, he's gonna send in a unit to go look for this man, right? And he sends in Jack and 9 other officers. Now, Jack, he's played by the dude who was, I forget his name, but he was in Supergirl season 2, who falls in love with Supergirl. He's a Kryptonian. He also married her in real life. I think his name is Chris Wood, I think. He's the voice of He-Man. And so turns out he used to Jake. So I'm about to say Jake and Jana, and I wanted to say date. I hate when that comes out at the same time. He used to date Jana, right? And so like, but Lex don't know. And so, he sends like the unit in, and so he's like, he's looking for the Syrian dude. And so they find him staying with like some family members or friends or something like that. And so when they go there, he's beyond sick and infected. He coughs and sneezes on a cop. The cop has like his visor down, but you see the mucus coming out his mouth. And so they tell the family, for your own safety, you have to come with us and everything, right? And have to get tested. And they all like, he wasn't too sick before. And they keep trying to plead with him. They're all like, we're not sick. Like, they didn't know he was sick and everything. But then they start to blame, like, the American cops and stuff. Well, over at the hospital, we meet a woman named Katie. And she's there with her son, Quentin. Now, Katie is a teacher. And she has her group of students with her. Cause they're there to learn stuff about like rats and everything else. And when they're there, they meet a man named Bert. He's the one with the rats that he gives to like, the hospital, stuff like that. And so like they're there, they're learning about stuff. And she sees like somebody that's sick and on like laying on the bed and stuff like that in quarantine. Well, at some point in time, Dr. Cantors tells them that, they cannot leave the hospital because the virus is now spreading through the hospital and they're trying to keep it contained. Well, you can probably guess what happens. Because the Syrian dude was out and about and everything, and everybody's getting sick in the hospital, the virus is spreading. They have to retrace his steps to find out who all the family member had contact with. So Jake is pissed that he can't leave, like, the hospital and stuff like that because he had contact with the dude. So he's furious and he's mad. He's mad at Lex, talking about you sent me in here and blah, blah, stuff like that, right? At some point, he will cool down and everything because he has to become like a semi-super cop and stuff. So they start tracing the steps of like the Syrian family and stuff. And they realize when the boy is there, so he's going through the stuff of like the Syrian family, right? Because they're getting sick and infected and now they're in quarantine. So they have to retrace steps. And he sees that the Syrian boy has an American white girlfriend. So they need to find her and see if she's infected or not. Well, she is. And so turns out that she had contact with some other people and stuff. They all went to a party. And one of the people she had contact with is, God, let me think of this girl's name. Teresa. Teresa is a pregnant teenage girl. And she works at the store with her mom, a grocery store. And she has a boyfriend named Xander. And so, like, the mom don't like Xander, right? Because he knocked up her daughter. But those two are, like, in love. And so she had in contact with a girl that knew the Syrian dude's girlfriend, right? Nobody knows this virus is out. And so they find the girlfriend. She's badly infected. So all the people from the party who's in that house tweaking out on drugs had to go to the hospital. Now, one of the girls kissed Teresa. Teresa's fine, by the way. And so now some crazy stuff is starting to happen. The CDC announces there's an outbreak and everything, and that certain people had contact with certain other people, and to contain the virus, because they don't know where all it spread and everything, they section off an area of the city with electrical gate, right? And it's insane, you know what I'm saying? Because like during our pandemic, yeah, they shut down like, everything and everybody had to stay indoors, but they didn't like section off an area with like a gate, an electrified gate, right? So a lot of people are now trapped inside there, and this is causing mass panic and stuff because people that are in there, some of their homes are on the outside of the gate, and some people who are on the outside of the gate can't get to their homes inside. And so as Lex is trying to calm down the public and everything, talking about we can't let y'all out. If you try to come out, we have to use deadly force. And he sees a lady on the bike. It's Jana. She was at work. And so like so he's upset. He's trying to call out to her and everything, but he can't, like, she can't hear him, and she just takes off. He's upset, and he sees Xander, and Xander's all like, I have to get back in there. My girl's in there, the pregnant girl. He's all like, look, man, I feel you. Like, my girl's in there too, but ain't nothing we can do and everything. And so things start to get like really, really, really intense. People emotions are up in the air and they're not getting the answers they want. And the CDC isn't really telling everybody everything and stuff. And so like now tons of people are getting sick and they're dying and they're getting infected. When it comes to Jake, like I said before, he's furious at like Lex and stuff, right? But the doctor dude, Dr. Cantus, he needs Jake's help. He needs somebody to like burn the bodies. Now with this virus, once you die, the virus in your body will die as well. So they can walk around people without masks. And it's just like our pandemic. You see people with masks on, and you see people with their mask underneath their chin, wearing it like a diaper and stuff. Ugh. And so, and so, like, he starts to, like, help out Katie because she needs help with, like, the kids. And there's a bunch of kids down there. And so this is really tough on him, It's like he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be with on the outside. And he now has to deal with a bunch of people he don't know. And now he has to burn bodies of the former living and go through their belongings and, put them in a bag and mark off their names and stuff like that. And this is really hard for him. Like he's going through a lot. And he never asked for none of this. And so, but he starts to bond with that of Katie. And it's a cute bonding moment they're having. They're building up their relationship very slowly and everything. First, it's a little rocky because she wanted help looking for the kids and he didn't want to help. And so then after that, they just start to bond on mutual respect and everything. But she tells him, she has a lot of baggage on the outside world when this thing is over with. A baby daddy, her son she has to take care of. And, she doesn't get paid much money and she's struggling and all this other stuff. And he doesn't seem to care and stuff like that because he just likes her. And so, at some point in time in the courting, everybody's trying to contact like their loved ones and everything via face chat on the phone. And then, Katie and Jake, they're just like watching TV and, they're just having a good time. And all of a sudden, the internet goes out. The head doctor at the CDC, who reports directly to the president, Dr. Loomis, she cut off the internet. She does not want nobody to contact anybody in the courting and vice versa. Now, this is a little extreme. You know what I'm saying? Could you imagine if that would have happened in our world? They cut off the internet and the phone. They can't call nobody. But she has a private line to that of Dr. Cantors and stuff. And so she wants the doctor to try to find a cure and stuff. And what's crazy about this show is like there are 10 cops in the cordon, but all we ever see really is Jake. There are tons of doctors in the hospital, but all we ever see working on the virus is Dr. Cantors and stuff. So it's just kind of weird, and it's like a cost budget like reason why we always see those and nobody else. So the whole Jake and Katie thing is so sweet. Like the one time they start to bond over like the lost and found items, and they're dressing up and they're playing games, but they fall in love so hard that they want to touch each other so bad, but they can't because you can't touch nobody with this virus because just touching somebody will make you get it and stuff, right? And so at some point, there's a weird scene where they're both in the shower. The only thing that's separating them is like the shower curtain, a see-through shower curtain. And there they start to make love with each other through the shower curtain. It's odd, it's weird, but in some ways it's kind of romantic. So people now are not only they're confused, but they're restless now, and we see people living on the street and they're not homeless people, but now they're like refugees and everything. It's strange because, the people who don't live in the Cordon in that little area of town, they have nowhere to go now, and people aren't letting them in their houses because people are like scared and stuff. But you think they'll be able to find shelter somewhere, but no, and it's just odd. And it's just, that's one of the most unbelievable things, when it comes to this show, that nobody will help them out. And people are running out of food and stuff. And so, like, during this time, we meet like a news blogger named Leo, and he's determined to get the truth because he doesn't believe the CDC and stuff. And so he has friends inside the cordon and stuff. And so he's trying to gather as much information as he could, but he can't now because contact with the outside world is impossible and stuff. So we see at some point we see Xander, and he's trying to break in through like the gate and everything, right? And he can't, and he gets arrested. He ends up meeting like Leo, and Leo helps him get in there and stuff. And so when Xander is in the cordon and everything, he goes to like the apartment where Leo's contacts are. Because when Leo was talking to them on face chat, one of them was coughing and didn't look too well. He goes in there and they're dead now and everything. But they're not just like dead. They're like dead. I think they even had like a bullet wound in them and stuff. And so he exposes some the video in there, some video and stuff like that of what happened inside. So now the outside world is knowing that something crazy is going on in there. It's a conspiracy of sorts. So he bumps head frequently with Lex, but then him and Lex end up working together because they're trying to crack what's really going on. At some point in time, Lex and like the police chief dude, they are butting heads because what happened is that, there's barely any food in the cordon, and so people are going to the grocery store. Ironically, the one where Teresa mom and them work at seems to be the only grocery store in that area. And so there's like this redneck family, and they're mad at Teresa's mom because she's trying to like overprice them and stuff, right? So they come back with guns and they try to take over the store, only for Jake to show up and scare them away because he's a cop. They come back anyways, but then they're stopped by a street gang. And when they're stopped by this street gang and everything, the gang leader, he now tells them this is his store now. Now the gang leader, I cannot stand this man. Like, he's one of the worst characters ever. Because at some point, a food drop happens, right? From the outside world. Lex wants it to be more organized and stuff, but the CDC director lady's like, no, just drop the food down there and they can like, just get it. So he contacts Jake. Now him and Jake, they have a special way of communicating with each other. See, what happened is at some point in time, the CDC director lady brings in storage containers to block off the gate. And Lex thinks this is kind of suspicious. He's all like, you just called these in, it's like this quickly, and they came, like almost like you had this planned out and everything. So they talk within like one of the storage units. And so he sends in a couple of more cops. He sends in one cop named Meese. And so when the food is being like, given to the people, the gang comes in and they steal all the food. Jake is such a lazy cop, he barely does anything to stop them. He's afraid of getting shot. He has a gun and he's there with other cops. And so there's more cops and everything than there are gang members. There's only like 5 gang members or something like that. And so they steal the food and then they start charging people for the food. Like, what kind of world mess is that? Now, Jake knows where the gang is hanging out at. You would think that him and the cops with their guns and the townspeople will go there and get the food back, but they don't. They just let the gang run everything. And so when Xander comes back and he finally meets Teresa, he is stopped by the gang. The gang forces him to join them and everything. Even one of the gang members like gang members get like infected. So what does the gang leader do? Shoot him and stuff. So while Meese is in like, the coordinate and everything, we see he has like a satellite type phone. And he's contacted by the police chief dude. And he's sent on a mission. He's the one who went there and killed the contacts of Leo. And he grabbed a bunch of papers. See, there's something fishy going on when it comes to this virus and stuff. And so after that, he just decides he's gonna join like the gang because he's a crooked cop. And so at some point in time, somebody figures out, hey, if they climb the scaffolding to this building, get on the roof, jump on the container units, they can free themselves. Well, the cops tell that man, plain and simple, man, don't do it or we will shoot. They can't let nobody out because then they will probably infect somebody. So a cop within the cordon shoots and kills him. And then he decides, you know what, I can't believe what I just did. And he resigns just like that. And so, trying to think. At some point in time, like I said before, Alexis butting heads with the police chief dude. It's to the point where his badge is taken away. And so he gets it back from Dr. Loomis and everything. And so she's trying to now build a rapport with that of Lex and everything because she needs his help and everything. Well, he's, like I said, secretly working with Leo. And so at some point in time, he even tries to get into the cordon, but he is stopped by the National Guard. And the National Guards are being buttheads about everything, thinking they got everything under control. Now Teresa and like Xan and them, they're scared, what I'm saying? Because they have to stay there with that gang. And and things were really going crazy for her because before the craziness happened with the virus, like, the subway station, the lights and powers were going out and everything. She knew she came into contact with that one Syrian girl's girlfriend and stuff. Her grandmother, Michelle, is Bert's like wife and everything. Man, Bert and Michelle is like two of the sweetest, caring people in this entire show. Every time you see them, it's like a gushy, loving moment. And like you're just so happy to see them. They try to make the best out of a bad situation. She's in a wheelchair, confined, and he's older and stuff, and they're wearing their masks, they're wearing their gloves, they're not touching each other, they want to. They're out of wine and they just drink like water in wine glasses, and they're just trying to make like the best of it. It's just a nice feeling to see those two, And so at some point in time, Xander and Teresa, they escape the gang and they head to like a building where they can try to like live in, and she ends up taking Reese's satellite phone type thing. Now, on to Jana. I haven't talked about her yet. She works at some type of research type lab, one where they have to wear hazmat suits and they have to get like go through like a purifying room and everything like that. And so she's there with Susie, and Susie's there with like Dennis, and I think the guy's name is like Tony. And so Dennis is a character I can't stand. He's married, he has a kid, but he's sleeping with Susie. And so like he's just a player, right? And so when all this is happening, they're across the street from the hospital. So they don't know what's going on. She can't talk to Lex no more because the phone's went dead, remember? And so like, but the thing about Jana's a very smart character. I really like her. She's keeping her mask on, she's setting the rules inside like the building when they got to go get food. Cause the guys, they're hungry and there's not much food left. And so she don't want the guys to leave the building because they might end up getting sick, but they go anyways. When the guys come back, they have their mask on, but they don't have the gloves on. She is worried, and she tells them, you're staying in that purifying room for like 2 days until, make sure you ain't sick. And so they're furious and everything. They talking about open this door, man. So then they start like throwing the food on the door and eating it in front of them and just being buttheads, right? And so at some point in time, that's where Teresa and Xander will later make their appearance in that building at some point. But there's a problem now. The problem is the town is going into chaos. There's people just doing things they shouldn't. And there's a bunch of drug dealers. And they try to break into the building because they know there's chemicals in the building. So at some point, she meets a guy, I think his name is Sam, and he works there like in maintenance. And so he helps saves her life during one of the when the druggies try to get in. And so like she brings him into their group. And of course everybody's pissed because she made the rules and nobody can get in and stuff. But he saved her life, so she just lets that pass. And so at some point, Xander and Teresa make their way there. At some point, the guys are out of quarantine. And it's a fight on their hands because why? The druggies are trying to come in. And they're trying to come in every way they can through the ventilation systems and stuff. So this is part of the most action you'll get in the show because they have to fight off like, the druggies. At some point, Jake shows up at the hospital because Xander, I think, yeah, when Xander went to go check on like Leo's people, he had to take a flash drive. And the flash drive is corrupted now because Mies messed up the flash drive on purpose. And so Lex needs Jana to like decode it and stuff. And so Jake is there helping out. And they end up having to kill a couple of like the druggies and stuff. But then the gang shows up. They scare the gang member away and this and that. And so Janet and them realizes, you know what, they can't stay here no more. It's just not safe. There's barely any food, and they have to find a way out the corner and everything and back to civilization. So they leave the pregnant couple there. Now, the pregnant couple, Teresa's mom, when the gang member showed up, he showed up with Teresa's mom with a gun pointed to her head. One of the druggies bit Teresa's mom. I'm just like, what is this? The zombie apocalypse? So the mom fears she might be sick and she goes someplace else so in case she might die. So we never see her again, so we don't know what the world happened. So they leave the pregnant couple there. Jana and Susie and Dennis, minus Tony, because Tony's now dead. They go to an underground tunnel system that's in a church, right? And they see like the pastor and he's there with a bunch of people getting like the Holy Ghost and everything. So they sneak into like a room and they're there with Sam and they're going down the tunnel system. And so they find out the tunnels have been blocked off. So Dennis is all like, you know what, I'm going to try to find another way. Like, screw all this and screw y'all and everything. I have to get to my kids. So he leaves Susie. She's pissed because she loves Dennis, even though he has a wife. There's another problem. Susie is pregnant with Dennis' kid and everything, right? So they head back to the research building, but the pregnant couple has now left. The pregnant couple has made it to Teresa's grandmother Michelle's place where they meet Bert and everything. And so like they realize something. There's not much food left in Michelle and Bert's place. Bert overhears this and he tells like, Michelle. Now Reese and the gang members, they have a secret way of getting out the cordon through some underground like tunnel systems, right? But they're gonna overcharge people $1,500 just to get out. So Michelle and Bert decide to make the ultimate sacrifice, and I can't believe they did this. And I'm just like, what the world are they thinking? See, what happened was about 13 days have passed when all the craziness happened. Bert ended up getting hurt, his leg broken and stuff, and he had to find a way to limp back home. Michelle, by the way, Michelle looks like Aunt May from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. My God, she looks just like that lady. She cut her leg while trying to like get a wine bottle and stuff one day. And her leg is badly infected. fearing one day she might have the virus and stuff, and low on food, and she wants a place for her great grandkids to, like, or great grandkid to you know live, because I think Michelle, yeah, Michelle, no, Teresa has now had the baby and stuff. So Michelle and Bert, they kill themselves. They drug themselves and everything, but they make sure they hold each other before they die. It was so sad to see them do that. And they did that in case Teresa and Xander need like a place to stay and everything. And I couldn't believe they did that. That was a little too extreme, but it was so sad and touching and stuff, right? So at some point in time, like Jenna and Susie and all them, they make it back to the research place. That's later on at some point when they find like Teresa and then the baby get delivered, stuff like that. Well, here comes Dennis behind, oozing blood out his face, talking about, "Hey, baby, let me in. Let me in, girl. I ain't affected." And she's all like, you ain't coming. He's all like, "Well, I gotta help you raise that baby." And she lies and tell him she's not pregnant, even though she is. So he leaves. And of course he dies off screen. I swear to God, I can't stand that character. Well, let's get back to Jake and Katie. So at some point in time, Katie talks to Dr. Cantors and something just ain't feeling right, right? She overhears something her son was saying. About how the dead doctor lady who we saw in the beginning used to have quickies with her boyfriend. And so she realizes something's not making sense. The doctor died before the Syrian man died. So that's like, it can't be, because the Syrian man is supposed to be patient zero. So they do some research and they find out through like, video logs and stuff. I think that's what the flash drive has, something like that. They find out the Syrian man was not patient zero. Apparently, neither was the lady that who was infected, but her boyfriend. They see those two making out and everything. Then they see he gets a phone call. He freaks out, and then he goes, throws some stuff away, and then he goes into a room to quarantine himself. He was patient zero, and they blamed it on the Syrians. So they get this information back to Lex and everything, so him and Leo can do some detective work. Now, there, one of her students named Thomas, I think his name is, he comes into contact with an affected man. And so his dad comes in to get him with a gun and talking about, "I want my son." Well, at some point in time, Thomas comes back to the hospital because his dad and sister are now infected. They run some tests on Thomas. He has a weird immunity to that of the virus. And so they think he might be like a cure somewhere in his blood. And so, like, Dr. Cantors, who seems to be the only doctor doing anything, is doing all kind of tests and all this other stuff. He thinks that he has antibodies in the boy's blood. So he tries to make a cure. And so when one man is affected by a rat that's infected with the virus, he gives him the experimental cure with Thomas' blood. Man's feeling fine and everything like that. So they have to get Thomas out the cordon. And so they arrange it. But here's the problem. If people see that, they're going to freak out. And they do. And so they manage to get the boy in the container with Lex and Dr. Loomis. Only for the man who got bit by the rat to now become infected and start dying really quickly. It turns out Thomas' blood was not the key. It appears he was just asymptomatic or something like that. So they have to rush to get him and everything. And so they get him back. But, Dr. Loomis and Lex, they have to stay in like the containment thing for like 2 days and stuff. But this is when things get even more crazier. So the townspeople try to like escape, banging on the containment units and stuff like that. This is where more of the chaos happened and stuff on that day 13. And so like the bus driver who took the kids to like the hospital and stuff, he tries to get the kids on out of there. Katie tries to stop him. And one of the girls is really sick and infected, but Katie doesn't know. The girl ends up starting to die. Katie has her in her arms. Jake sees her and he's all like, get away from her because she's been around Thomas, and Thomas is not the cure. He's actually infecting people a little bit more. And so, like, Katie has this bloody girl in her hands, and the girl now dies. So Katie is freaked out. She runs back and she's showering and everything like that because she knows she's infected now. And Jake is beside himself. He's crying, he's breaking down in tears. He can't take it, because he knows he's about to lose the woman he's in love with now. So at some point in time, Lex and Leo are starting to do their detective work, and they're starting to realize that Dr. Loomis, there's something going on with her, right? And so they start to find out more information about the man who was really infected with the virus. And so it's determined that he got into contact with Dr. Loomis and everything. She's the one who gave him the virus to experiment on and stuff. After exposing her, Lex tells her plain and simple, because now the police chief dude, he has a bigger promotion. And so he's making life really hard for Lex and stuff. And so she's gonna confess to people, but she does a briefing where she blames Dr. Cantors for the virus, talking about he's the one experimenting on it and he's the one let it out. He is now public enemy #1, and people want to kill him in the court, especially that gang I told you about. And so it's making his job harder now because he's trying to find a cure. Leo's like, man, she played us, man, and we're so screwed because we can't come out with the truth now because she now spun the truth and everything. And so Leo hightails it out there, but Lex is determined, because he's the super cop, to find out what's really going on and stuff. So after doing some more work and everything, he meets a woman who is like the mother of, like, I think it's like this military man. He sees a bunch of dead bodies and stuff. So at some point he confronts Dr. Loomis and everything, and she confesses to Lex. Her goal was to create a super virus and stop it in case any foreign enemies tried to. See, the thing is like this. She's terrified of bio warfare. And she's afraid that a foreign, like, terrorist group might decide to create a bioweapon, a super virus. So what she did, she instructed people to create their own super virus, expose it to the people so they can come up with a cure and fight it, which is a really dumb thing to do and everything. So she is the cause of all this crap. And so the doctor at the hospital, she's the one who gave it to him. He got infected and all this other crap. And yeah, so Lex, he knows that she's going to try to spin it again. So he secretly records her and stuff. And then he gives it to his father, who's a former cop, who finds Leo. And Leo exposes everything. Well, now the cat's out the bag and everything, And so the Dr. Loomis lady, she's in some hot water and everything, right? But there's a problem. She's still in charge for now. And she knows of a way people are trying to sneak out the court and everything. It's through Meese and everything, people who have to pay him off. And so she instructs bombings to go down in the tunnels to seal them off. The National Guard is kind of like, what the world are you doing, lady? And she's all like, I'm still in charge, like, for now and everything. And so Lex has to stop a group of people trying to come in and everything. Well, one of those group is Jana, and also, let's see, Jana is Xander, not Sam, because, and it's also Quentin. Why? Because Dr. Cantus is still working on the super cure and everything. Katie says she wants the experimental drug, it's very experimental. He gives it to her. It doesn't go well. Katie's death is one of the most tragic deaths on this show. She's dying all by herself in the room. She's convulsing and everything. Blood is spewing out of every pore she has. And Dr. Cantors goes in with a hazmat suit. And he is the only person who is there for her because Jake is busy doing something else, playing super cop. So, of course, when Jake finds out, he is upset. And so, one thing she told him before she dies is to get Quentin out of there. So he steals a bunch of the jewelry from the dead people in the hospital, and he gets up enough money to get her, Jana, Teresa, and them all out, right? Well, there's a problem. The bombings and everything. It makes it very difficult. And so I think Reese ends up getting shot, I think. Xander and Teresa get separated. So it's Susie and it's Jana. And so they're greeted by Lex. Lex doesn't know it's them yet. And he tells them, whoever you are, you have to go back and everything. And then he sees it's Jana. Lex decides this is his only chance to be with her. So he leaves the outside world and he goes in the court and everything. So he can be with Jana. So now everything is starting to wrap up. Dr. Loomis has been like exposed. Leo and Lex dad are celebrating and everything for the people they lost. Teresa has decided her and Xander are gonna stay at their mom's shop now that the gang is gone and everything. Jake is gonna take in Quentin and everything, and Lex, Susie, and Jana are gonna stay at the research lab with that of Sam. Jake is gonna meet up with them, but first he has to do something. He spreads the ashes of Katie all over the city, off the rooftop and everything. And so there it ends, and we don't really know what the world happens after this because it's kind of an ending and kind of a cliffhanger. Dr. Cantors has realized that Thomas has a weird immunity in there, and he has to, see, one of the gang members came in and tried to kill Dr. Cantors, right? And Jake had to stop it. And he tells them this doctor's the only one who can save us all, right? So, he gives the experimental drug to one of the gang members, but he realizes if he gives the experimental drug along with Thomas' DNA and something else, it might just combat the virus. So this is now a cliffhanger. Does the new retro antivirus, does it work or does it not? And so they realize it is working and stuff. But now they need more blood. They can't get it from Thomas because they got too much. So they start like asking for donations of blood and everything. And they find one other man in the restricted area who has DNA blood similar to that of Thomas. Remember when I said Jana and them first tried to escape through the tunnels, through the church, and they saw that pastor? It's the pastor guy. So, will everybody be saved? Will they not? We don't know because it ended on a cliffhanger and stuff. And so this is a really good show with lots of twists and lots of turns. And a lot of like drama happens in this series. A lot of confusion happened in this series. A lot of betrayals. I still can't believe the CDC lady is the one who created this super virus and exposed it to the public and everything. And it's insane and crap. And I couldn't believe how they closed off a section of like the town and wouldn't let people out, and they would shoot people if they try to get too close to the gate or try to like escape and everything. Cause like I said, it's that extreme level of like a sci-fi type show, but it is kind of silly and weird how there's always just one cop in the city and how there's only one grocery store and one doctor and a gang that's trying to run everything, and people are not trying to take the gang members out, and people sacrificing themselves so that loved one can live in like their home. It's silly craziness, but it does make for a good dramatic series. And it's too bad that this series only had like one season and everything. But it is on the CWC. I have no idea how long it's gonna last there. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.